Bitcoin is the God particle. Let me tell you how it all got started. In the 1990s, during the Steady at Home project, the God particle of Bitcoin came in through the Steady project. It informed the minds of Hal Finney, Adam Beck, and Nick Szabo. And then the cypherpunks went on to create what was in the God particle that became Bitcoin. Then the Genesis block was born on January 3rd, 2009. And now we're living in the cosmic God consciousness that is Bitcoin. I have Bitcoin to protect me. Bitcoin is a shield. We got the rockets of the IMF. We got the ballistic missiles of the central banks. We got the Jamie Dimons of the world. We got all those shit posters trying to attack Bitcoin, but we got the ultimate shield against them all. We're going to win, and we're winning right now.
Welcome back, guys. Now let's talk about something we all love, Bitcoin. But more specifically, let's talk about a little nation making big waves with it. I'm talking about El Salvador, and we're just a couple days out from the second anniversary of the nation making Bitcoin legal tender. Yep, the country that saw Bitcoin and said, why not? A lot's happened since El Salvador said, I do to Bitcoin. They've had highs, lows, and well, mostly highs if we're being honest. El Salvador bonds up 90% this year, best performing in the world. Can we talk about that tweet for a moment? 90% up. Those are some happy bond investors. Also, who else besides President Bukele can pull off an equation with emojis and hashtags? We're going to the moon, baby. And tee up NWA. The IMF coming straight from the underground.
But the only country in the world where Bitcoin is legal tender is El Salvador. That gives us an advantage in the new economic system that's in the works. And we have had some benefits from it. We have increased tourism by 95%, and that's in part because of Bitcoin. There's a lot of Bitcoiners that want to go to the only country where Bitcoin is legal tender. We have Bitcoin conferences, etc. So we're getting a lot of tourism for it. We're getting a lot of private investment also because they're...
Now, if you're feeling a little lost on this Bitcoin journey El Salvador has embarked on, no worries because we've got the perfect roadmap just for you. But from Bitcoin Beach to Bitcoin becoming legal tender, it has been quite the roller coaster, speaking of which. And in a quick rundown, this is kind of how it went. So summer 2019, the Bitcoin Beach project starts in El Zonte, and that's led by Mike Peterson, Roman Martinez, and Jorge Valenzuela. Then in June 1st, 2019, Nayib Bukele starts his presidential term. June 5th through the 8th, 2021, Bukele announces and gets approval for the Bitcoin legal tender bill. We got June 10th through the 25th, the IMF and World Bank criticize El Salvador's Bitcoin decisions. Bukele announces the Chivo wallet launch and incentives. Then July through August of 2021, concerns and criticisms from U.S. Ambassador. I'm sure you guys remember that, the Fitch Ratings Agency, and all of that regarding Bitcoin adoption. September 6th through the 7th, 2021, El Salvador buys 550 Bitcoin and becomes the first nation to accept Bitcoin as legal tender. Initial Chivo wallet release faces some technical issues. Now, November 2021, El Salvador hosts the first adopting Bitcoin Lightning Summit and announces plans for Bitcoin City. January to February of 2022, amid a bearish Bitcoin market, and again, guys, we went through one of the most intense bear markets in Bitcoin history, and with that and the IMF concerns, Bukele remains defiant. Tourism in El Salvador sees a 30% rise post-Bitcoin law. And in March of 2022, Salvadorian finance minister postpones the Bitcoin bond plan due to all of the macro market conditions. If you remember, this is kind of post the situation evolving in Ukraine. We get into September and November, 1 year since the Bitcoin law enactment, and El Salvador faces international criticism but continues efforts to promote Bitcoin, including establishing relations with Lugano, Switzerland. We get into January 2023, here we go. El Salvador introduces a digital securities law and repays $800 million in bonds. Let's go to February through May. Plans for a second Bitcoin embassy in Austin, Texas are announced. Fitch upgrades El Salvador's sovereign debt rating after bond repayment. So basically, yes, stick that in your pipe and smoke it, IMF. May 2023, Saifedean Ammous, the author of the Bitcoin Standard, the leader of the new Austrian economist movement, joins El Salvador's Bitcoin office. Then September 7th, 2023, El Salvador's Bitcoin legal tender law celebrates its 2-year anniversary, marking a significant milestone in the global discussion on Bitcoin. Guys, El Salvador stays winning. Haters gonna hate. El Salvador keeps winning. That's just a fact. And man, happy second anniversary, legal tender anniversary for President Bukele and El Salvador. And look at that, a Bitcoin party, and you know it's not a party unless memes are involved. Ladies and gentlemen, I just need you to remember to mark this on your calendars. Remember, the 7th of September. Oh, guys, get ready. We get a live look in at Nayib Bukele and the IMF. Uh-oh, it's not looking good. Bukele's about to give him no business. Here it comes. Yeah. Get you some. Get you some. Shook it. Man, that's classic. Who doesn't love a good meme? Especially when it's, it includes that level of truth to it. And it's followed up by this level of truth. Here's Joe Nakamoto. Are you seeing the beginnings of a narrative shift? There's Bloomberg, El Salvador President Bukele scared off Wall Street by embracing Bitcoin 2 years later. The bond rally he's overseeing is proving too lucrative to resist. And here is the great Stacey Herbert. Indeed, Joe, El Salvador is winning so big that Bloomberg can't stop writing about us. And I bet you anything that the #1 source of traffic to their website at the moment will be articles about President Bukele and El Salvador, so you can expect more headlines because El Salvador stays winning. Of course you're gonna have more headlines. This is the new model for the future. But hey, let's get a little serious. The adoption of Bitcoin in schools in El Salvador is making sure even the kiddos are on board and they are prepared for the fiat and macro storms that come ahead, and they're gonna have the ability to save and build and create a future for themselves. Check out this slapper, new article from Bitcoin Magazine, but El Salvador launching their education program to teach Bitcoin in every school. So imagine kids in El Salvador are trading their lunch money with Bitcoin. When I was their age, I was just trying to keep my Tamagotchi alive. Times have changed, and the Keynesians' days are numbered.
By the way, like I told you before, it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, almost all classical economists have rejected Bitcoin.
Of course, because
They
they're
don't accept
classical
it.
economists.
Yeah,
I mean, you just define them. So of course they
they don't understand.
Well, I don't think they don't understand. I think they don't want to understand because all of their preconceptions, their theses, their works, their books, their prices would be meaningless because they were wrong. So they have to defend. I don't think they're that against Bitcoin. I think they're more trying to defend their personal stories. I mean, imagine somebody that's very well-known, a recognized person in the economy, and having attacked Bitcoin for a decade. And now it would be very hard for him to see Bitcoin succeed because it would mean that he was wrong. It would mean that all of the prices he got, at least they're outdated. But sorry, I interrupted you with the question. But
But you're fine. It's fine.
yeah, but I just think you define it. You define the answer with the question itself.
So we heard.
All right, enough of the past and present. Let's talk about the future. How do others see El Salvador's Bitcoin journey?
So yeah, the bond is an important part of their future, I believe. All the countries, especially in Latin America, that are, I would say, under the heel of the IMF and can only borrow to refinance debt, this is a way out for them to get capital for the development of their country with Bitcoin and with Bitcoin mining. So the only way previously would just to be continue borrowing, and the IMF would dictate and try to modify policy or change the politicians or have some impact, right? But what this gives countries is sovereignty, right? Bitcoin gives everyone back their sovereignty, and that holds true for nation states as well. So if El Salvador pulls off this bond, then it shows the world that you don't need to rely on the IMF or any central lending institute that does not necessarily have your best interests at heart, but you can just fund everything with Bitcoin-backed bonds.
Guys, economic liberty, Bitcoin, Latin America, it's a cocktail that's got the world buzzing, and El Salvador is not just at the bar, they're behind it, mixing it up. El Salvador became the first country to adopt Bitcoin 2 years ago, leading to significant changes and improvements. And while some attribute the progress solely to the leadership of Bukele, it's a collective support of the people and competent leaders that has driven the transformation. Despite challenges, including skepticism from international entities like the IMF and the US government, the country is has witnessed a surge in tourism, infrastructure development, and foreign investment. Major tech companies and exchanges are showing increased interest in the nation, recognizing its potential as a Latin American Bitcoin hub. Additionally, El Salvador has made remarkable strides in security, becoming the safest country in the Americas. The U.S. has also begun to see El Salvador in a more favorable light. Educational initiatives are equipping Salvadorians with knowledge about Bitcoin, with programs like My First Bitcoin impacting young students and the Kubo Plus program training developers in Bitcoin programming. In conclusion, while the general public might still be adapting to Bitcoin, the nation's trajectory has positively shifted, and it solidifies its identity as the Bitcoin country with a promising future.
Let me ask you about this. When the president speaks about building the El Salvador dream, paso a paso, this great rebrand of El Salvador is inspiring other nations in the region to not only consider Bitcoin an economic liberty, but to rebrand and transform similarly. You are from Brazil. What do you see there, and also in this Central American region?
What I can see is a lot of people, when they find out that I'm now in El Salvador and been here for a year, they're very curious to understand how it's working. Obviously, a lot of people are still very much unaware of Lightning and its impact and how it's actually allowing El Salvador to adopt Bitcoin as money.
How?
And so
why is that? How?
Because it's instant settlement, right? It allowed Bitcoin to transform into a medium of exchange, right? And to have this technology that allows for instant settlement between people, right? So being able to make transactions at the very small 1 cent immediately to anybody in the world from El Salvador, that's something that a lot of people have a hard time still wrapping their head around it. And a lot of them don't even know that it exists. And so I think the curiosity is more coming from that. It's like, how the hell are people just waiting around for 10 minutes to accept the payments? And, it's mostly that, but they also know that they're seeing the approval rating of the president, and they're seeing the positive impact that it's having on the country with the numbers that were published recently in the op-ed of Nayib Bukele. And they can't help but feel a little bit jealous of what's going on here, and they want it for themselves. They want it in their own countries. And
The halo effect.
Exactly.
They're like, wow, this is really working out.
Yeah.
And guys, with all this bullishness going on, you want to make sure you're taking care of your generational wealth and protecting your Bitcoin the right way. If you need help with wallet and nodes, no KYC purchases, best practices, securing your digital life, and working to become your own bank, as well as a sovereign Bitcoiner and doing things the right way, if you need help, we have a link down in the description, and you can schedule a call with the Bitcoin Way today. And why don't we just sum it all up here? Bukele, I'm not going to say I told you so, but you remember all those doubters and haters? Let's go ahead and check this one. Oh, here we go. We got Bloomberg, emerging market assets retreat as China takes 2 steps back, and what's right here? Let's zoom out. And if you look at that second subheadline, El Salvador, Ecuador, dollar bonds among the top performers. And what else did they have to say? In the debt market, dollar bonds from El Salvador gained, with notes due in 2029 rising 1.8 cents on the dollar to 80 cents. The government accepted banks' proposal to restructure local debt, swapping short-term papers for new ones with maturities of up to 7 years. Such action, along with the pension reform, could provide fiscal breathing space while the country explores external funding sources, according to Thomas Jackson, analyst at Oppenheimer Company Incorporated.
I think there are 2 benefits you get when you adopt the Bitcoin standard. If you're a country. One benefit is the macroeconomic benefit. You end up with a treasury asset, which is appreciating in value instead of depreciating in value. So you put your entire economy on a stronger basis. And the second benefit is a technology benefit. It's possible to use the Bitcoin protocol, or in this case, Lightning, the combination of Lightning and Bitcoin transactions, in order to provide digital currency to every citizen of the country.
There you go, Max. El Salvador's winning, straight up. How can you argue with that? There is so much going on right now. There are plenty of reasons why Michale Saylor is seeing, Bitcoin going to 5 million, at minimum 500K, and not to mention all the economic calamity. The setup is like a perfect storm for the Bitcoin takeover to really begin, and think about what that's gonna do for El Salvador. But guys, until next time, happy hodling. Hope you had a great weekend. I hope my Broncos don't get their teeth kicked in today. Hope you have an amazing week. Go out and get it, baby. Be sure to tune in and follow us on Twitter for all the latest news. We'll keep you up to date with the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. Until next time, guys. Peace.